Greetings to everybody. Welcome to this literature reading class. This year we were able to continue with this class regularly, and we all understood several aspects of the teachings of our great masters, that they tried to educate us, give us some understanding, give us the knowledge so we can march on this path confidently. And in this, we understood that centering our mind in consciousness is mastering our mind. And most of us, we all wonder and struggle because we observe thoughts. And I received some texts also that what if we get immoral thoughts during this centering process? Even if so-called immoral thoughts pass through your mind, let them pass. Nothing is wrong. Because life is about completeness. You accept everything. Whatever is there, it is living. You simply remain an observer. No harm is done. It's almost like you're watching a movie, an inner movie. It is not you in that movie, you're just watching it. There is tragedies, there is horror, there is joys when you're watching a movie. If you watch it like an observer, you're not affected. But if you get involved in it, then we start crying, we are scared, we carry the impressions further. So, this is what meditation is teaching us, to watch, to witness like you're watching a movie. A lot of times, when these thoughts get uncontrollable, people try to use drugs and chemicals. But that is a violent usage of the mind. It is a destructive way. With those, whether it's a drink or drugs or chemicals, you can get a temporary relief, but there is a permanent damage to the mind. So, only by meditation, by relaxing the mind, by centering the mind in our inner consciousness, with simple awareness, simple habit of learning to observe, we bring about this mastery. And also this idea that a lot of times I get these questions from our sisters and brothers. How to feel this oneness in all of us? Because our bodies are separate, our minds are separate, our lives are different, we think different. How can we be one? But the moment we come to this awareness that the meeting point of all beings is the center of our existence. And that center of the existence is the same for everyone. Home is the same. One person may go out this way, one person may go east, one person may go west, south, north. But when they're coming back home. That is why they belong to that family. So in meditation, our meeting point is the center of our existence, which is one. That is why the source is the meeting point for all of us. And that is why we are one. And in this process of training our mind, lot of times why we get thoughts is that we have this weakness of clinging to the past. We think it's a treasure. No, memories of parents, good times, bad times, the times that we spend with the masters. But the moment we cling to the past, the future will only be a modified past because your mind is on the past. The future will be a modified, little refined, little more decorated, future. And that is why the masters are trying to teach us to let go. Even the good experiences, even the good memories. When you tell Master, I had such a good experience, he says, write it in the diary and let it go. Why? Because it's a good experience. I should be mulling over it and feeling joyful continuously. But they don't tell us that. They ask us to let go. This is the reason, whether it's a good or bad, the moment our mind is diverted towards the past and clinging to the past, the future doesn't change. For the future to change to what it should be, we have to let go of the past. So it is about being in the now, open, observing, being aware and centered, and witnessing. Then the possibility of a new future can happen. When we live in the past, be it good or bad, we will be caught in that wheel of life. And here is where developing the habit of letting go helps us. That's what we do in the morning. In the meditation, the first instruction Babuji says, if thoughts are coming, just observe, let them go. And that is a habit you develop. In the meditation, if you are doing the meditation every day, same time, and if you are gradually imbibing in this habit of letting go, that habit reflects automatically in our life. So even when we are living lives, when some things happen, people are always clinging to the past. You did this to me, you did that to me, you are doing that to me. Constant complaints and they are caught up in the habit of holding on to the past. But if meditation done correctly, the result is you will change because you have learned to let go. You are able to forgive. You are able to forget. And that is how you create a new future. Because every thought, every action is self-perpetuating. Your self is perpetuating. So once you cooperate with it, you give it energy, and sooner or later, the positive habit naturally manifests. And this is what Daji calls automation. And when that automation happens, whether it's meditation or letting go, even meditation becomes automatic and it becomes a habit in such a way that you don't even feel you are the doer. It's happening automatically. Isn't that the state that we are all striving for? I am not the karta, I am not the doer. So, a simple act of meditating regularly in the morning, the way it is prescribed, will bring transformation. So, at the end of the year, let us all take today to evaluate in your diary, in our diaries, that what were those few things that I tried to change inside myself this year. I meditated 365 days. I worked out every day. Whatever that we had our goals last year, write them down, how much we accomplished, and write down to see what all changes you perceive inside you. The techniques that we have been working, all my senses are in a state of balance. All my feelings are in silence. Observe, are you more emotionally stable than last year? Are your senses really coming to a state of balance? If the technique is done correctly, it should. And if the meditation you are truly centered, when something happened, we would have handled it with a lot of balance. Observe inside ourselves. And if you feel like it's not done, then you know what the goal for the next year is. That I need to work on this particular aspect of myself because I have done some of it, but I have not mastered it. I was partially emotionally stable, but not completely. So that means I have to intensify that technique. I've been talking about that particular technique where all my this particular weakness of blaming, criticizing, complaining, judging has left me for good. I have no attachment to it. We practiced it several times. Look into yourself. Am I still complaining? Am I still blaming others for what's happening to me? Am I continuously criticizing others? Is my vision always judging other people? When we look into ourselves, what is the answer? If you feel like you're not complaining anymore, we don't need to work on that technique. That can be dropped. But we have to be honest with ourselves. Am I truly working on myself? And then write down the goal for the next year. This particular technique need to be mastered. And bedtime prayer. In bedtime prayer, the most significant thing in the bedtime prayer is, Master, forgive me for the things I have done knowingly or unknowingly. Knowingly we make mistakes, then it's wrong. But unknowingly we make a lot of mistakes because our awareness has not increased. Like a baby hitting the mother without knowing. But then when it becomes older, and if it realizes that it was bad to its mother, forgiveness has to be asked for. That's what I noticed in myself. Like recently, I've developed some vertigo problems and I was suffering, and all of a sudden it dawned on me like how much Master would have suffered. And during those times, I remember we were still as abhyasis, like children making demands on him. And that was wrong. And when that came, a deep repentance started to happen in me. Oh my God, my awareness was so low that when the master is not well, I only thought, oh, he's talking to that person, so he can also talk to me, you know. But mistakes are mistakes. So, this bedtime prayer will release us from so many burdens of the past. Have we practiced it throughout the year? We have 365 chances to redeem ourselves from this entire karma bag. And if we didn't utilize it, what kind of foolishness is that? This is doing things knowingly, making mistakes knowingly. For sins committed knowingly or unknowingly, not asking for forgiveness is a mistake that we are doing knowingly because we are spiritual beings. We know that. And if we don't do the bedtime prayer, we are knowingly ignoring a golden opportunity of investment that is given to us. So, that is why the masters of the heartfulness Sahaj Marg method simply insist on practice, because the practice will release us and brings us to the shores of understanding where we don't need knowledge. But yet they are giving us every possible knowledge so we can walk confidently. Before we didn't have the knowledge, we had the condition. Now we have the condition, now we have the knowledge. So the confidence has increased in each one of us. So let us utilize this last day of the year with some introspection to see what we have changed, where we have changed, what techniques worked for us and what techniques did not work yet, and write down few goals of what we can do for ourselves. What can I do for my body? What can I do for my mind? What can I do for my soul? Write down the goals and start implementing bit by bit. Even if we did one technique per 1 month, imagine what transformation can happen to us. So we will continue reading a couple of pages from our book reading. Talks on the Gita by Vinobha Bhave, starting at page 24. Here he says, look, this body is forever changing, caught in the cycle of childhood, youth, and old age. Modern scientists say that every 7 years it is renewed and not a drop of old blood remains. Our ancestors believed that this takes 12 years. That is why they prescribed a period of 12 years for study, penance, atonements of sins or wrongdoings, etc. See, our ancestor has given that much period of time for the transformation to happen. Unfortunately, we are in the path of Sajmarg where we have cleaning and repentance. We often hear that mothers fail to recognize their own sons after years of separation. Is the body that changes every moment, dies every moment, your true form? Its sewers are flowing continuously, and despite your indefatigable scavenging, it remains unclean. Is this body you? No, the body is dirty. It is you who wash it. It gets ill. It is you who give it medicine. It fills 3.5 cubits of space. You are free to roam in the whole of the cosmos. It changes endlessly. You observe those changes. It is open to death. You make necessary arrangements in that regard. When the distinction between your body and yourself is so clear, why do you shrink into smallness? Why do you relate only with your kin? And why do you grieve over the death of the body? The Lord asks, is the destruction of the body a cause for grief? The body is, in fact, like a garment. We can put on a new garment as the old one gets worn out. Had the same body stuck to the self forever, the plight of the self would have been really sad. So he's saying it is good that we die so we get a better chance. I mean, lately when we see our old parents suffering in old age, we literally are praying that they be relieved from that. So changing the body is a good thing. It is transformation. That is why change is progress. Had the same body stuck to the self forever, the plight of the self would have been really sad. That would have stopped all growth, extinguished all joy, and dimmed the illuminating power of knowledge and wisdom. Hence, perishing of the body is not a thing to grieve. Had the self been perishable, that would indeed have been a cause for grief. So, if the soul dies, then it is a cause of death, but a cause of grief. But the self is imperishable. The eternal self, even the identity of the masters, continues until the Mahapralaya. So, the self is never that speck of you that is completely in emergence. You are not aware, but yet you exist. You exist in His presence. But the self is imperishable. The eternal self clothes itself in a succession of bodies. That is why it is utterly wrong to get attached to a particular body and its relations and grieve over their loss. And it also wrong to consider some as kin and other as aliens. This is where we treat everybody as brothers and sisters and do not carry enmity. The person that you are hating and doing all revengeful things today maybe have been your daughter or your own wife or in the past life, and you are not even recognizing. The universe is a beautifully woven whole. Were we to cut the undivided self immanent in the whole universe into bits of separate selves, using the body as a pair of scissors like a child who willfully cuts a whole piece of cloth with a pair of scissors, would it not be the height of childish folly and moreover an act of extreme violence? This idea that not to judge anybody because you don't know how they are related to you in the past. I had once an experience where, I saw Daji and his feet were walking in the water, and oh, I thought it looked like Rama's feet, and I look up and it was our master. And then me and my master, we both went to, we see one guru, I would not mention the name of the guru, coming into our ashram, and he's all spooking and checking out everything. And he left, and then Me and Daji went to this master, and he was all posing like he was all great and all that in front of TV. And then master blesses him. And I'm looking at him like, Master, that fellow came and tried to steal all your ideas, and you're going and blessing him. And he just smiled at me. And then I realized this particular guru was master's disciple in his previous life. The master recognized the disciple, that it is my disciple who is doing this. The disciple did not recognize the master. And when I physically mentioned this incident to master, he just smiled. He didn't say a word. If it was wrong, he would have corrected me. So we never know. Those we think who are our enemies probably were our own people in the past life. That we painstakingly, we know when we raise our children, my child, my child. And next birth, you are hating them and criticizing them. So that is why we connect in the center. When we are centered, we all belong to that center. We are one. So the moment we hate, we have to come back to work that samskara out. So this 9 o'clock prayer, brilliantly Babuji started. It is not so much that 9 o'clock prayer is not because we are praying for others, that we are praying for peace in the world. It is really to come to awareness. We are all connected in the center. Whether we are abhyasis or not, we are all brothers and sisters. We are connected in the center. So Babaji brilliantly said, okay, because our ego is satisfied when we think I prayed for somebody, I prayed for world peace. So he could not say, develop this love that we are all one and love all. So he created one technique. That's how masters do. When they cannot directly tell you to do one instruction, because the moment they say one instruction, then we explode on that and question why did he give this, how did this, how should be done, and then they stop. So Babuji brilliantly gave an indirect technique where we all come to this awareness that all of us human beings are centered in that ultimate presence. It is really a pity that India, the land where Brahma Vidya, the science of realizing the ultimate, was born, is now teeming with innumerable groups and castes. Our fear of death is perhaps unparalleled. No doubt it is a consequence of a long period of subjection. But then one must not forget that it is also one of the causes of that subjection. The meaning of Brahman, it's given here. Brahman is the absolute, the supreme truth, the ultimate reality. The concept is, in fact, too grand for conceptualization and description. The Upanishads had, therefore, to speak of the Brahman in negative terms. The real is not this, the real is not that neti neti statement. Brahman is the supreme principle that is the root cause of the generation, evolution, and extinction of the world. So, in the modern day, people like Daji gave it a name called Source. Because the moment we say Brahman, oh, is this coming from India? Is this Sanskrit? God is not Indian, American, Chinese, Hindu, Muslim. Ultimate is ultimate. It has nothing. Everything is born out of it. So they gave that word source. And that is what equivalent to Brahman. It pervades everything and transcends everything. It is the supreme self. The individual self is a part of that Brahman, and the consummation of its development and evolution lies in merging with the Brahman, and that is attaining spiritual liberation. We dread the word death. It is considered inauspicious. Jnanadeva had to write regretfully, they cannot bear the word death and cry over death. If someone dies, what tears, what wailing. We seem to think it a duty. People go to the extent of hiring professional mourners. Even when death is imminent, we do not tell the patient of it. He is kept in the dark even when a doctor has told us that the patient cannot live. Even doctors do not speak plainly to the patients and go on pouring medicines down their throats until the last moment. If instead the doctor were to tell the patient the truth, give him courage, and direct his thoughts towards the divinity. What a help that would be! But it is feared that this little pot the body might crack of shock before its time. But can death ever come before the right moment? Besides, even if it comes a little earlier, what does it matter? We should certainly not be loveless and hard hearted. But attachment to the body is not love. On the contrary, true love emerges only when the attachment to the body is overcome. And this concept we all understood this year. As long as we are stuck to the periphery, the matter, we cannot transcend the body. When we transcend the body, when our thought is not on the body, love begins. And when we are able to transcend this energy field of consciousness, that love transforms into devotion in the absolute state. So, here, this is what he's talking about. As long as we are attached to the body, true love doesn't happen. And he was a freedom fighter. See, even freedom fighters in those days who fought, they had such spiritual depth. When we are freed of that attachment, we would realize that the body is an instrument for service. When we transcend the body, we realize the purpose of the body. It is to serve. And then the body would gain its true dignity. What is the true dignity? Why are we reading Vinobha Bhave's Bhagavad Gita? Because he was able to transcend the body and share his ideas, we are thinking of him with reverence for his service. But today, we regard pampering of the body as the sole purpose of our lives. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy. We want to go out and have fun. That is the only thing we think about in life anymore. Before I get too old, I have to go visit so many places. I have to have fun. We have totally forgotten that life is to be lived for the fulfillment of Swadharma, which we learned, our duty. And one has to look after the body for this purpose only. It should be given proper nourishment, but there is no need to indulge the palate. It is all the same to ladle whether you use it to serve a sweet dessert or plain curry. It feels neither happy nor unhappy. The same should be the case with our tongue. It should be, of course, be able to distinguish between different tastes, but should not feel any pleasure or repulsion. The body is to be paid its due hire and nothing more. A spinning wheel has to be oiled regularly to keep in its working condition. In the same way, we should provide fuel to the body as we have to take work from it. If that is our approach, the body, although having little intrinsic worth, would become worthy and valuable and gain true dignity. We will stop here. But graciously, our masters have given us freedom of permissible fun. So we don't try to starve it, but we try to maintain it. So we wish everybody a happy new year. We will meditate now. And we will send out the information about Revered Daji's sitting tonight and the message that he sent out.